war changes literally
Yeah.
day by day. So it's like,
Well, we got to do both,
yeah,
right? So, I mean, I think we need to replenish the stockpiles of what we've been using. But, the other thing about this news or this way of looking at it, we don't just have these high end intercepts. We have a lot of other options at our disposal. Now, some of it is not in high volume yet. Some of it's still new technology, but there's a lot. Like, for example, if that stuff was true, if you recall in the first few weeks of the war, there was lots of video of Iranian attacks. You saw the missiles and the drones attacking Saudi Arabia and Israel and other countries over there, right? It's like a nightly thing.
mm-hmm.
That stopped. Why did that stop? Well, that's because of the efforts of our military, taking out their ability. Now, people will say, well, they're still launching. Yeah, but they've got tens of thousands of these things, and they can't launch at will like they were because of the tactics and strategies that our military has employed to basically disable their dome. They have a air defense dome similar to what we understand as the Patriot and the Iron Dome. We've taken it out so that we can fly our planes over. Now, it's not 100%. They still have some, but we've attacked their radars along the Gulf. We've used bunker busters to attack the caves where the missile launchers and drone launchers are. So they have underground facilities, but we bomb the entrances. Now they clean them out. They excavate them. But we've taken out the roads that are used to bring the parts and the materials and the fuel and things that they need to launch. We've taken out the heavy equipment that they use to load the drones and especially the missiles, they're heavier, onto the launchers. Sometimes you hear what you think are conflicting stories. So the media said, you hear the military say we've taken away their ability to launch at will, or we own the skies. And then they say, well, we saw a missile get launched, so obviously that's not true. Well, one. The military is calling those nuisance. Now, nuisance is enough to keep the strait closed. Nuisance is still enough to make the, Gulf neighbors tell Trump to back down, and don't retaliate because they don't want Iran targeting their desalination and,
Right.
electrical plants and things. So, it's real, but they don't have anywhere near the capability that they did in the beginning.
Oh, hell no.
But we also have other weapons that are low cost that meet the cost exchange ratio goals that we're looking for and at an advantage.
Why don't you enlighten us?
Well, directed energy. So I think the Helios has made some news. The Helios is a big laser directed energy. It ties into the Aegis system that the Phalanx uses. Okay, this system that integrates all these close-in protection system that it'll detect a threat and then respond to it. So they have the Helios is actually tied into that. It's not a manual separate weapon. And it has enough power not just to disrupt and blind essentially the drones, but it can actually melt them. Now there's only one of them. It's the prototype. So once there's others planned to be built, but here's where we're talking about expediting that process. But there's probably another 8 or 10 smaller, not tied in with the Aegis system, on ships over there, directed energy that they can blind the drones. We have the advanced kill. Or was it Advanced Precision Kill Weapon System, which is a low-cost missile, laser guided that can be used to target, these drones. There's one of the coolest ones for me is they're 30 millimeter and 50 millimeter. They have these airburst munitions. They were originally meant for trench warfare, and so there's electronics inside of 30 millimeters, about 1.2 inches. 50 millimeter is about 2 inches diameter. So it's a bullet, basically. Inside of it, it has a real hard metal. I don't know if it's titanium or something, but it explodes and, propels this shrapnel out there. So basically a big bullet that turns into a bunch of little bullets. It's just like a cloud of bullets, right? It has electronics on it that when it leaves, so if you're targeting a trench, okay, you fire the gun, it already measured the distance because it needed to do that to target it anyway. Just you were in artillery, right? So you know how far you got to go. So you need your distance so you can get the right trajectory. But as it leaves the muzzle, it's a timer is started and it's told when to explode. So when they don't want it to explode on impact, they want it to explode in the air. So if you're targeting like a trench, it hits. If it doesn't go right in the trench, it lands beside it. It doesn't hurt anything. So, but if you get over it and you explode it, and it's got all this shrapnel, it attacks everything in the trench. So they've got those, which they can target the more expensive, slower moving drones. Okay, because you know how far away it is, boom, and it creates a shrapnel. But it's not so good against these fast moving, real cheap ones. So they have one in development right now that on board has its own radar. So not only that it's not just a timer, but it can actually target a swarm of drones. And the bullet, when it's not going to change its trajectory, but you aim it at it, and when it senses that the targets are nearby with its own radar, it'll explode and take out a whole group of drones.
What else did they? You said we also were developing some unique drones of our own too.
Well, I think I haven't seen any detail on the real commercial style drones. I would like to see that. I would like to think that we're doing that. Okay, but one thing we do have are the Lucas drones. They have 1,000 deployed now, and I think there's, I don't know, 6 or 10,000 close to being finished. And the Lucas is a reverse engineered Iranian Shahed drone. So the Shahed drone that they developed, then they worked with Russia. Russia improved the technology. So those are the drones Russia's using. They mass produce them, and Iran still builds them in these underground factories. Well, we basically built one. The difference is when they launch a Shahed drone. So the neat thing is, and I don't know what ours are, what kind of motor ours has, but the Iranian ones have a 50cc piston engine on them. So basically a small motorcycle, what we would call a mini bike, engine and a propeller. Now that's not enough to take off. You need a lot more thrust to take off. So it has rockets, in the ring. So rocket boosters. They put it on like a rail system, launch it, and that propeller runs. They program the GPS coordinates essentially of the target, and you just let it go, and it's a kamikaze, and it finds its target. But once it goes, there's nothing you can't change it. You can't talk to it. You can't redirect it. What the U.S. did is added SATCOM, so satellite communications links, and the ability to reprogram the target. So one of the ways they're using them, like I said, we took out all of the launch sites and all the infrastructure as best we could. Well, we have Reaper drones circling at high altitude, and we have these Lucas drones that are up there. And in my mind, you see the local turkey vultures on the thermals just circulating around waiting to find their. Okay, so that's what these are doing. They're way up high. They're just kind of circling, riding, thermals low, trying to consume as little fuel as possible. And when if the Reaper detects what it thinks is a launcher, it tells one of those Lucas drones, hit that. So it'll then break out of this, hovering that it's doing and target and hit the target.
I love military technology.
Now, what I did find out is in Ukraine, they captured one of Russia's drones, Shahed drone, that they found had mobile data chips in it. So basically, the same stuff in your cell phone. So it can communicate with cell towers. Now, they know that that is being used for navigation. So you can ping cell towers and, it's you're not relying on GPS exclusively. It's more precise, locating, as long as you're within range of a cell tower. But once it's there, obviously you can dump data into it as well. So if
Mhm.
they have once you have the communications link, now you just need to develop the capability for it to redirect its target, reprogram its target, kind of thing. So they may be working towards that, but I don't think it has anywhere near the elegance that I just described with the working with the Reaper drones.
Hmm.
And I think, yeah, so those are on the same price point as the Iranian, Shahed drones.
Yeah, which by comparison to like a whatever a tomahawk missile or whatnot is,
Hmm.
you could probably do hundreds of them to one tomahawk
Right,
missile.
right. So it if anyone's wondering, and you should, when you hear some of this news or read some of this news, that why didn't we do anything about this? Well, we should have. We should have acted much sooner than we did. Um, you know, and the steps are being taken now to create a new way of thinking within the military to do this. Now,
Hmm.
one of the things, so critics of this, so one of the phrases I think they took from the Ukrainians is get it to 80% and then put it out in the field. Okay. Which in technology makes sense, right? So AI technology, I mean, full self driving for Tesla, that was nowhere near 80%. It's there now. It's probably 80% now, but it's collecting all that data. That's how you improve it. So that's one of the arguments. Now that's culture shock to the way the U.S. military operates. It's like, you mean to tell me we're going to put a weapon out there that we're not 120% confident in? Well, I mean, if you want to compete, if you want to go after this type of technology, I guess what I would say is if you're using a weapon that isn't 100% validated, then that's not you don't count only on that weapon.
No.
You use it, but you have backup, that kind of thing. So anyway, that's one of the things that may change is there. So you're going to hear critics say, well, we would normally test that for 10 years. We're going to put it out there now.
Oh, I
And people
mean,
say, "Whoa, that's bad." And bad things might happen. Mistakes will be made, but that's the choice you got to make. I mean, and I just speaking as a technology person, I mean, your enemies, they don't care. See, they don't care if one of their drones goes off course and kills anyone, even their own civilians. It doesn't really matter. Those things don't matter to the people that we fight against, our adversaries. It only matters to us. So we make a mistake, it's front page, worldwide, constant. But if the Iranians make a mistake, oh well.
yeah, like